Hi everyone, it's Caroline here, and welcome back to our series of lessons on Germany in the 1920s and 30s. So we're going to pick up where we left off, which is looking at the Weimar Republic. Now, the Weimar Republic, remember, is just the name for the German government at this time. So we start off with Kaiser Wilhelm II as the emperor. He then leaves and is replaced by the Weimar Republic, who are going to run Germany for about 15 years before in comes Hitler. So Weimar Republic, Germany after the Kaiser, before Hitler. And so far we've seen in lessons they are having a terrible, terrible time of it. This lesson, we are going to look at how it goes from bad to worse. So it's understanding the Spartacist uprising of 1919. So uprising is just when a group of people try to take over the German government. Spartacist is the name for that group of people. So it's when a group called the Spartacists tried to take over the government from the Weimar Republic. So by the end of the lesson, you'll know how to explain the events of the Spartacist uprising and its significance in German history. What is the kind of legacy that it leaves behind for the Weimar Republic? So first up, we need to remind ourselves, why were people unhappy with the Weimar Republic? So we know they're having a terrible time. They are really not enjoying ruling Germany right at this moment. Why not though? So pause the video, see if you can remember from other lessons why people weren't happy. Okay, so you might have said things like World War One, so they lost World War One, and the war itself was really awful for the German people. So they come into it from a really bad position. It's not like they take over from the Kaiser and Germany's running really well and really happy. They take over a country that is really unhappy, that's had an incredibly traumatic experience. Then they sign the Treaty of Versailles. So the Treaty of Versailles ends World War One. And if you remember, the Allies just are really horrible to Germany. It's a really awful, brutal treaty that they put on Germany. And the Weimar Republic, the politicians from there, are the ones who sign it. So they get sort of linked with it. You might remember they get the nickname the November criminals because November is when they signed the armistice, they stopped World War One. So lots of reasons for people to be unhappy. There are also lots of political parties at the time that don't like democracy. So we're really familiar with democracy. We've seen lots of successful democracies around the world. We know democracy can work. The German people very skeptical of it. It's the first time, and so far it's not going well, it's not going good. So the Weimar Republic are not happy at the start of this event. They're going to be even more unhappy at the end of it. So this is a map. I'm sorry it's so blurry, but I'm not expecting you to read all the individual things. But what this is a map of all the terrible things that happen in Germany from 1919 to 23. So we've got like workers' uprisings, so people trying to overthrow the government. We've got areas trying to claim independence, say they're not part of Germany anymore. We've got political murder, so politicians being murdered for their beliefs. And you can just see on the map how many there are in 4 years. So it must have felt to the Weimar politicians that it's just one thing after another. We're going to look at three of these. So we're going to look at the Spartacus now. We're going to look at another one, the Cat Putsch, next time. And then when we do Hitler, we'll look at a time where Hitler tries to seize power as well. So Hitler's uprising is on the map as well. So you are a Weimar Republic politician. Life is stressful. So who are the Spartacists then? So we're in January 1919, and they're a group of radical communists, and they're led by these two people. So there's Luxemburg and then there's Liebknecht. So Rosa Luxemburg, Karl Liebknecht are the leaders of Spartacus. Now, you might be really familiar with communism and what it means, especially if you're studying the Cold War. But just in case you're not, communism is just a political belief that is really quite different from capitalism in lots of ways. So communism, there should only be one political party. So they don't believe in letting people choose from lots of parties. That communism is it. Capitalism thinks there should be a variety of political parties. People choose who they like, who they vote for. In communism, everyone works for the government. So everybody gets given a government job. So there's no unemployment. The government tell you what job you're doing. Capitalism, people are free to start their own business, make a profit, but you're also free to take that risk that you might end up unemployed. So communism, they only make as many products as they need for the people to have. So what their people need, that's what they make. Capitalism, you make as much as you can, you sell as much as you can to make money. Communism, there tends to be very strict censorship. No one criticizes the state. Whereas in capitalism, people can have freedom of speech. So to sum up, communism is in its purest form, ideally fairness and equality for all. And capitalism, ideally, is freedom and opportunity for all. And you can see the country flags over there. So under capitalism, we've got America, Britain as well, capitalist country. Germany in the 1920s was capitalist. Under communism, though, I've got the flag of the USSR, which is Russia. So Russia has become a communist country after World War One. And so it makes it more of an option, if that makes sense, for other countries. So whereas before it was a bit of a pipe dream, no one had done it. Everyone was like, well, what would a communist country even look like? Now they've got an example in Russia. And there are a lot of people around Europe looking at Russia going, oh, that actually looks like quite a good way of doing things. So communism becomes more popular. And in Germany, they're going to come up in our course again and again. So another reason lots of people vote for Hitler is they're scared of communism. So communism is great if you have nothing. If you have something that could be taken away from you, it's going to be quite a scary idea. And Hitler's going to come in and be like, vote for me, I'll sort out the communists. So that is a very rough overview of communism. It's going to come up again and again. So what happens in the uprising? We've got a man called Emil Eichhorn. He is the police chief of Berlin. He's super popular. He's sympathetic to the Spartacists. He gets fired. And there are mass protests. So the Weimar Republic fire Eichhorn. There are protests in the streets. That's how popular he is. So the Spartacists are like, well, this might be our chance. There are lots of people out in the streets, lots of protests, and maybe this is the opportunity we've been waiting for. And at first, they do quite well. So there are street battles in Berlin. Must have been crazy. So you walk down the streets of Berlin, there are people with guns up on the roofs of buildings or hiding behind statues, shooting at each other. And the Spartacists do okay. They take over newspapers and telegraph offices. So why they're doing that is because it's all about communication. So they're making sure they control the communication in Berlin. But then the Weimar Republic are going to call on these chaps and they're going to come up again. So we're going to, the Free Corps. So they've got a picture of them there with their skull and crossbones on their tank. So these are demobilized soldiers returning from war who'd refused to give back their weapons. So they're ex-soldiers from World War One. But remember, the Treaty of Versailles says you can only have 100,000 men in the German army. So lots and lots of soldiers had been fired. They've been let go from their role. They've still got their weapons though. So they work alongside the regular army because a few years earlier they were the regular army. So they work with the regular army. They hate the communists. They're really anti-communist. They blame them for stirring up trouble. So these guys are about as far from being communist as you can be. So they are very happy to stop the communists taking over the country. We think there's as many as 1.5 million men were either in the Free Corps or associated with them were friends. Were happy to help out the Weimar Republic sort out the communists. And they are also quite happy to use violence to get their own way. So the Weimar Republic is really lucky. It's got this group of men that they can just call on and be like, would you mind sorting out the Spartacist for them? These guys are like, sure, no problem. Luckily for the Weimar Republic. So the violence lasts several days, but there is an incredibly harsh crackdown on the Spartacists. Luxembourg and Liebknecht are captured by the Free Corps and brutally murdered. So the Free Corps really are violent, and you can see there on the picture they're surrounding their captured Spartacists. So the two leaders are killed. The Free Corps stop the uprising. So the Weimar government has shown it can be quite brutal. There's an uprising, they send in the Free Corps to stop it. But it does show their weakness, and this is going to become later. The Weimar Republic are very reliant on the Free Corps to help maintain order. And that's really dangerous for them because it makes them vulnerable. So it's fine as long as the Free Corps like them and are prepared to do what they ask, the Weimar government's fine. But what if, for example, next lesson, it's the Free Corps that are the ones doing the rioting? What's the Weimar government going to do? And that's what we're going to see next lesson. We're going to see a different uprising. This time, though, it's going to be the Free Corps doing the rebelling. And we'll see how the Weimar government respond.